indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Rosado, roll call.
George Andrews,
Present.
Rebecca Baer,
Present.
Ann Petrillo.
Here.
Mike Petrillo,
Here.
Jason Goldstrand,
Present.
Keith Parkut, David Kulik,
Present.
Wayne Broner,
Here.
Rich Lamus,
Present.
8 present.
Okay, thank you. We welcome all of our guests. If you haven't signed in outside, please be sure that you do so we have a record of who was here this evening. Announcement that an executive session was held this evening before this meeting for the purpose of discussing personnel litigation and negotiations. We need an emotion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I'd like to add an item, please.
Yes. Okay.
Under personnel, I'd like to add Malgorza Gorska Martinez for math teacher, replacing Olivia Paris, who resigned at High School South.
So noted.
And what, note for the minutes that this is being added because the opportunity arose within the last 24 hours and it is necessary to have someone in the classroom on the first day of school, right?
That is ideal. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that included, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You got it.
Not a second.
Do we
I'm gonna-
need to? vote?
Patricia says you didn't have a second on that.
I'm gonna
addition.
second
Oh,
that
I'm sorry.
motion.
Do we have a second on?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the minutes of the July 21st, 2025 board meeting.
Second. Thank you.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yep. And we don't have our student board reps, but hopefully soon we'll be seeing some new faces. So we turn to our superintendent's report.
So is Jamie Doyle on?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start, so. Okay, excellent, thank you. So, we're going, there's a bunch of different presentations that we have tonight. We're gonna start with Jamie Doyle from PFM to talk about our our restructuring of our debt. And she has somewhere to be, so we'll start off with her.
Good
No-
evening, everyone, and thanks so much. We appreciate the consideration on your agenda. With me this evening is Carly Kiesling. And is it helpful if I screen share, or do you have a hard copy in front of you?
We
You may want to screen share just for the public.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
hopefully you can see that now.
No.
No.
There we go.
There we are.
All right, just takes a second. So this report contains the results of your competitive dual track process that we undertook in order to restructure some of your debt. When we got the proposals back from the banks as the first step of the dual track process, the market and interest rate conditions were very similar to when I had been with you in person 2 weeks prior in mid-July. So I won't belabor the interest rate chart page, and I will get right to the results. The winning proposal came from JP Morgan Chase Bank. They proposed a non-callable fixed interest rate of 3.6%. Settlement is scheduled for August 29th. The principal amount of this restructuring is $16,231,000, and we did a little bit better than the projections that I had shared with you in mid-July, in that the savings over the next 2 years is about $3,372,000. When we present value that back to today's dollars, the cost is about $297,180. So again, a little bit better than what I had shared in mid-July. And if you look down below in column 4, you can see that basically we're scooping all of the principal out on the 2017 AA bonds of the current fiscal year ending 2026, as well as next year ending 2027. So you see you get cash flow relief of just under $8.9 million in the current year's budget and just under $5.3 million in next year's budget. So again, scooping principal out of those 2 years, and where we're layering it back into your debt portfolio is the following years, beginning in 2028, mostly interest in 28, 29, and 30, and that principal is getting layered back in in 2031, 32, and 33. So again, very pleased with the results and the cash flow relief that this is providing. And if you compare it back to mid-July, you can see that we did a little bit better than projected. Just to walk through the mechanics very quickly, on the next page, you'll see all of your 2017 AA bonds. If you had done nothing, you would have made the payments on this page, and you see they go through and including 2039. On the next page, you can see the part that we restructured, again, scooping all of the principal out of the current fiscal year and next year on this series of bonds. And then on the next page, you can see the portion of the 2017 A bonds remaining after the refunding. So you'll continue to make these payments that you see on this page on the 2017 AAs going forward. This page just shows how much money we needed to generate in order to pay off in principal and interest the refunded portion of the 2017 AA bonds. And then this page will be most important to your business administrator because this will show semi-annually what needs to be budgeted for this restructuring, principal in column 2 and interest in column 4. And so this is what I meant in column 2 when I said, the overlap in your existing debt portfolio and this restructuring is minimal principal during those overlap years, and then filling in with larger principal payments once we get to that natural drop-off point in your debt portfolio. The next page just shows the sources and uses of funds. So this is again, the principal amount, $16,231,000. Under uses, you can see the costs that will be paid at settlement out of the proceeds. And when we compared this particular winning bank loan proposal to the bond market, they were very similar, all in on a true interest cost basis, meaning we took these cost of issuance and interest rates into consideration for the bank loan. And on the bond issue, we took bond issue interest rates and bond issue cost of issuance into consideration. And the true interest costs came out very, very similar for both. And that's how we arrived at this recommendation for the bank loan proposal. Toward the bottom of this page, the box labeled yield of the issue, that's the rate we'll report to the IRS. You're effectively restructuring this portion of your debt portfolio at a 3.6%, rounding up slightly. And then you'll see your updated debt portfolio on the next page. So we've subtracted out of column 5 the refunded portion of the 2017 AAs. And in that next to the last column, column 12, let me shrink that a little bit so it all fits on one page. Column 12, you can see this Geo Notes series of 2025 that accomplishes the restructuring. This page is just a summary of some of the highlights. I think I hit all of those highlights already, so I won't belabor those. And the balance of the pages is the JP Morgan Chase proposal itself. So you can see those details, which we've summarized in the prior pages. So again, in conclusion, we were very happy with the competitive dual track process. We were very happy with the end result that we're able to present to you this evening. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time. I'll go back to the summary page because that's probably the most important page in here.
The board members have any questions?
You asked all mine to find it, so I'm good.
Awesome. Okay, it doesn't seem, Jamie, that there are any questions from the board at this time.
Very good. If any arise, you know where to locate me. And thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me queue up my presentation now. So before I start, we have some people to recognize. So tomorrow is our opening day and we're incredibly excited. And during our opening day, we are going to recognize some of our staff's years of service. But before we do that, we want to recognize some of our board members' years of service. So on our board honor roll, we have Jason Goldstrand with 5 years of service to the East Stroudsburg Area School District. So congratulations. Thank you so much. And then 10 years of service. Thank you, Debbie Hewlett.
All right, Debbie.
And then another 10 years of service. Thank you, Wayne Roder.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Right, I expect those to be framed and happily displayed in your homes. So my presentation, I really honestly am marrying 3 different presentations into one. We're going to go over state assessment data, then we're going to go over the Daktronics scoreboard usage and hopefully get some guidance of which direction we want to go. And then we're going to talk about class size. So we have kind of a hefty lift right now. Mr. Snyder had a family commitment that he had to attend to. So he put together the first few slides of this about data, and he is now our data guru. So just know that this is his work and we are grateful for it. So as we look at state assessment data, we just want to be very, very clear that right now we have the raw data file, which means that it's all the students who took the assessment. So the data that you're looking at is the raw data, not what is going to be put up in eMetric or even on our Future Ready profile. The raw data is every student in our district that took the assessment. However, students who come after a certain date, which is October 1, actually do not attribute to our school. But the reality is that they're still our students, so we still want to see how they perform. So when you look at state scores that are on all the websites that get posted, kind of mid to late fall, you might see some skewed numbers because this is raw data versus the people that are allocated to our district. So we're going to talk PSSA scores, Keystone scores. We're going to talk about Linkit, and then we're going to talk about scoreboards and class size. So I'm going to bring us back to our scoreboard analogy because why not? We're talking about scoreboards tonight. So again, please do not equate this to the work that our people do. So if you equate all of these scores to the efficacy of our teachers or the heart or dedication of our teachers, you are missing the mark and not understanding who we are as educators. These data points just show us how our curriculum is being implemented and where we need to make pivot points. These data points are not something that we're going to brag about. They are not something that we are happy or comfortable with. Just know that. But the reality is that this is where we're at, and then we have room to grow. So state assessment scores, just to remind everybody, for English and ELA, we take it PSSA grades 3 through 8. Keystone is in grade 9. Math is PSSA grades 3 through 8. And then Keystone Algebra 1 is the trigger course. No matter what grade students take it in, whether it's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, Algebra 1 is that course. And then science is grades 5 and 8. However, because of the new Steele standards, we do not have PSSA scores for 5 and 8 because the test is new, but we do have biology scores. So this was the baseline year for PSSAs because of Steele standards. So why do we care? Why it says cooperative agreement on that. This is not my slide deck, sorry. So why do we care? Why should we care? So really, honestly, we look at this at 3 different levels, 3 different lenses. So my lens is I'm looking at proficiency ratings and understanding what our curriculum is and if our curriculum is meeting the core. So is our curriculum meeting 80% of our students and meeting our students' needs? It's not, I'm going to say right now. So that's my lens. At the building level, they look at how our teachers are implementing it. How are they implementing the programs that they have? Are there gaps in the programs? Do we need to adjust some of the programs? And then at the classroom level, we're looking at actual student individual performance. Where are they scoring? We always need to say very honestly that PSSA data, by the time you get it, is lagging data. So our students took this assessment in April. We're not seeing them again until the end of August. A lot has changed in their little young lives. So we're getting information 4 months later for us to even intervene. But we still can understand how they're progressing over longitudinal timelines. So English ELA. So I'm just going to go through this and talk to you about the difference. So our third grade scores dropped their proficiency level by about 11%. It's concerning. We need to understand why, but it doesn't mean we throw everything out and start new. We just need to look at where we need to make adjustments. Grade 4 dropped about 2% in their proficiency for ELA PSSAs. If you have questions, stop me, but I'm going to kind of go through this fairly quickly, because, I'm sorry?
Nope, never mind.
Okay.
No, I'm missing it.
Are we following cohort or are we following each grade level?
So we are
As-
following grade levels. I'm gonna show you cohort income. Great question. So grade 5, so this is just proficiency level for students that year who were in grade 5.
And it's
Both, I don't get
It's
that.
all elementary schools, correct?
It's every student. So we broke it up by school, by teacher through Linkit, but we're not breaking it up when we show this.
And then the other question I had, just looking at the numbers tested, so I guess a lot of kids opt out.
So we're gonna talk about that. It's a great question. And actually, so when I looked at the opt-out numbers, I have to kind of sign off that I know how many people are opting out. Our opt-out percentage scores is about 15 to 20% of our population opts out of the PSSAs. Now, what I don't think we communicate is that automatically goes to below basic. So before we even, and I'm not gonna say, but pen in hand, take the test, and it's digital now, but before we even pen in hand, we have no better than 85% proficiency. We can't do any better than that because 15% of our population opts out. So we are really going to work on educating our parents and our families of what this means. We appreciate that they have choice and the right to opt out, but I don't think they realize what the consequence is to our data set and the impact that it has. So we're going to educate them. They still choose to opt out. That is fine. However, when you have 70 kids in a grade level opting out, it has a significant impact. So grade 5 dropped about 5.5%. Grade 6 went up about 4%. So we're excited about that. Grade 7, that is, I mean, dropping 0.6% is very similar to me. So that's just statistically irrelevant. They stayed about the same. And then grade 8 dropped about 7% in our proficiency ratings on our PSSAs. Now, when we use the cohort data, which is looking at the same group of students. So if you look at the class of 32, these are the students every year how they took the assessment. So when they were in 3rd grade, they were about 53% proficient. Then when they were in 4th grade, they were about 50% proficient. Now they're about 38% proficient. That's alarming to us. Why is that happening? So we need to really dig into the data, look at individual students, look at how they're performing, look at those anchors and the eligible content, and understand where we're losing students and where we're losing proficiency rates. I would say when you look across these cohorts, you are seeing that as a typical trend, except for the class of 31, that the cohort data is continually dropping as students stay with us longer, which is the exact opposite of what you want to see. But if you remember, when we look at data, we don't jump to assumptions, we do noticings and wonderings. So my wondering is this a state kind of thing? And I can tell you anecdotally, I've been in 3 different school districts with data, and typically the higher up you go, the lower proficiency rates are. But I would wonder, and I would want to compare that. State averages have not been set out yet. So some school districts, most school districts don't roll out PSSA scores to their board until you have state averages to compare from. We don't have those yet. They will be an important data point for us to see whether other cohorts have dropped or whether other grade levels have dropped proficiency or not, but this is where we're at now. For Keystone, we went up about 3.2%, which is fantastic. And we all know that we are writing English curriculum this year, so we should see an impact of that moving forward. Questions about English or ELA? Math and Algebra 1. So 3rd grade stayed about the same. 4th grade dropped about 1.5%. 5th grade went up 3%. 6th grade dropped about 1.5%. 7th grade stayed about the same. and eighth grade dropped a 0.5%, but really honestly stayed the same. Something that we always like to highlight in eighth grade and is incredibly important is when you have students who take Algebra 1, they are not taking eighth grade math standards. That is not their course. So you typically see that population of students who are proficient on the Keystone Algebra 1 are not proficient on the PSSA eighth grade. Because they actually didn't get the eighth grade content because they're taking Algebra 1 instead of PSSA eighth grade. So when you see 13.8%, although that's low and not comfortable for me, I also can identify that there is a population of our students who traditionally will not perform well on that because they have not had access to that curriculum. When you look at the cohort data, again, you're going to see that traditionally, as students age in the same cohort, the data drops, that their proficiency levels decrease. We have to really understand why. I'm going to highlight again that the cohort data is, when we look at cohorts, we're not looking at true cohorts, and my data junkies will appreciate this. So I am looking at the class of 32 of how they performed in 2023 and then how they performed in 2024. However, the makeup of those students actually might be different because of our transiency. So I am not digging in and looking at just the cohort of students who were in third grade compared to fourth grade compared to fifth grade. I'm just taking that class and grading them. Does that make sense? Okay. For Algebra 1, we dropped about 10%. So everything that I just said about eighth grade, still we're dropping. 8% of our students are proficient or advanced on the Keystone Algebra 1. We need to do better. We know we need to do better. We just need to figure out exactly where the concerns are and work to address them. Science and biology, as we said, the science PSSA, they are used as a benchmark, so we do not have scores. The biology, we went down about 3%, which isn't horrible, but it's still going in the wrong direction. Okay. Once we have state averages, we will reshare this with you with the state averages so that we can compare. We never want state averages to be lower, but it would help us understand that perhaps it was a testing anomaly, not necessarily our student performance, but that is where we are at. Do you have questions, thoughts, or concerns about that? Before we dig in, we were going to look at Linkit. We will probably do a deep dive with EPR committee. Linkit is a data warehouse that you have invested in, that we have trained our admin team on, and that we are working on training our teachers on. It is an amazing resource where there is so much data available. Now you have to be really, really cautious with how much data. So we are being very intentional and very strategic with how we are pushing out this data so that we do not flood our teachers and inundate them with just too much information. So we want to be intentional with what data we're looking at so that we can inform our instruction and make purposeful changes that impact student achievement. We never teach to the test, but the reality is that the test assesses how we're doing on state standards. So we're not teaching to the test, but we do need to make sure that our students are performing well on state standards and can be competitive when they go to college or whatever is next for them.
Dr. Kelly, are students also allowed to opt out of Keystones as well?
Yes, and they do. Many, many do. And that's a bigger issue. Thank you, Mrs. Bear, for bringing that up, because that's a bigger concern, because then it's closing down 3 graduation pathways for them. So there's 5 graduation pathways. If they do not take a Keystone, 3 pathways are automatically off the list, and they only have 2 others that they can graduate from. I don't know if we're doing enough to communicate that with families. That's a big deal. Our counselors and our principals are doing a great job communicating, but I don't know if we're really, really shining that they are in danger of not actually graduating without that. Because the 3 pathways, if you're below basic in any assessment, those 3 pathways are done for you. And if you opt out, you're below basic.
And do families realize that?
That's what I'm saying, is I think we need to ensure that we are thoroughly communicating that.
And just for the public, those pathways that are immediately removed are,
So, one is a proficiency pathway that you were proficient on the Keystone assessments. The second one is a composite score pathway that your composite score on those assessments, so your combined composite score is over a threshold. The third is that you have other assessments, but that you did not have anything below basic on your Keystones. So all 3 are Keystone pathways that you have to be at least basic or above to get through those 3 pathways. And there's 5 ways to graduate high school now, and those are the pathways. It's Act 158. We do a lot to educate our families on what those pathways are, and our counselors do a really nice job of that. But 3 pathways are automatically off the list if we are not taking the Keystone.
and it leaves them,
It leaves them with industry credentials and standards and then other certifications.
okay?
Great questions. Any other questions? All right, I'd say let's dig into the more important stuff, but probably the stuff that's gonna have more conversation. All right, so we are very, very happy to have our 2 athletic directors and our 2 high school principals here to help kind of feed this conversation. So feel free to jump in wherever you want, or you can just sit quietly. So just as a quick reminder, we bought and invested in 2 beautiful boards. They are amazing pieces of technology. And the initial budget was $321,699 for each of them. They're wonderful. We're super excited to roll them out next week, this week at our games.
They've already started being used.
They were used today
Yes.
for soccer.
Okay, excellent. So I kind of just like wrote up, and I know it's a lot of text on a page. I initially had it on like a handout, but I threw it in a slide deck. So we recognize, and there was a question that we talked about during Property and Facilities Committee about, are we going to allow outside agencies? Now, the question was, are we going to allow ESYA to use the boards? I say it has to be outside agencies. If we're doing ESYA, then we have to be everybody. Can we all, right now, before we even dig into the conversation, that we're not just talking ESYA, that we're talking any outside agency that is using our facilities?
It should be anybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're in agreement of that. So if we're going to allow any outside agency to use it, we just need to kind of have some conversations about what it could look like. So we have this investment in this really fancy state-of-the-art scoreboard at both of our football stadiums, or both of our North and South stadiums. We love sharing our facilities with our community. We recognize that these are feeder programs for our own programs. I'm doing it, right? However, we also have to recognize that it is not their property and we need to take good care of it. So my 7 bulleted items are, we made a significant investment and we need to protect that investment. There's complexity in the training, and I have not been trained on it, but I know that there's a content side of it and the sound side of it, right? Someone who knows the scoreboard.
Content, yes.
Content and then this, okay. Thank you. So you have to be trained in both sides of that. There's liability and warranty concerns, and we need to make sure that our people are running the board. So there was some conversation that we're training people from the outside agencies. So my question here is, and we can discuss it now or at the end, can we all agree that perhaps training somebody from the outside organization isn't the best, that our people should be the ones running it?
I would
I
agree
would
on
agree
people,
with that.
are we taking work away from our people?
Okay, so we can agree that it would be our people running. Awesome. So that takes number 3 off the table. Resource allocation. Each use of the scoreboard requires setup, supervision, and coordination with our IT staff. Supporting outside groups would divert that time because, one, we'd have to train them, and now they would have to be available for those organizations. We have to make sure that we're supporting our own student programs. My concern is some of the events that we're talking about are 6 or more hours on Sundays? And what would that look like? And how can we staff it? And what if we can't staff it? So what if we have 20 people trained and nobody's available? What does that look like? And how do we support the organization that we've promised them a scoreboard? And then precedent and policy consistency, we would have to make some changes. So,
Do
The-
other school districts that have boards like this allow? I know they share their
No.
fields, but do they allow outside agencies to use?
no,
the
and we've
physical
talked to
courts?
many in the EPC and none of them allow outside agencies to use it.
Okay.
So, the alternative is we could purchase an auxiliary electronic scoreboard for use. It would be $7,000 for two of them. We would use St. Luke's money, so it's not coming out of our general fund. And we could also use that for other of our athletics throughout the year. That's an alternative. If we move forward with allowing our digital scoreboards to be used, we would need to cross-train a lot more people so that people are available for it. We would have to update policy 707 to include the digital scoreboards. We would have to determine what the pay structure is for the Schedule B position. And then the outside organizations would have to agree to that pay structure to pay that person or people for their time. And then we would have to clearly articulate that if personnel are not available, we cannot use the boards. And then what would that look like? And then that would be the alternative. Now, Chuck, Mr. Daly, has done a beautiful job with the presentation. Do you want to talk or do you want me to run this through?
Well, I certainly can tell you what the point was behind this, which is compared to what the system we had previously, this is a lot more intricate. Just powering up the board itself between toggles and dials, there are 6 different switches that need to be turned on just to activate the board. Not to mention the iPad and the laptop that are used to operate the board. So what I did here was I just wanted to try to give a little picture of the equipment that is in the booth that would have to be utilized to operate scoreboard. In the past, and similarly to the option that you showed there, that's going to be one singular console that someone would sit down and
Is it
turn
just
on
one?
and just op. Whereas the scoreboards as they are now, it's a multi-person function, really, depending if you're looking to get full use out of it.
So if we were to have somebody use the scoreboards, it would be at least 2 people that we would have to pay to be.
Would-
It
or
depends which
students.
direction you want to go. One, give them full access, which is the digital portion, the graphics, and all that, or just the scoreboard operation. You want both, you're realistically looking at 2 people.
And then I hear somebody on the board saying, students, yes, eventually we're going to get there. However, you still need an adult supervising.
I'm saying, like, for example, football Friday night, 2 Schedule B employees to do this,
Correct. And then-
Currently.
and that's-
3. And we currently have how many without this, with the regular scoreboard, 2?
The regular with the announcer and school.
So now we have to add an additional Schedule B.
But that's, we already
Budgeting
knew
that
that.
cost.
Right.
We're talking about outside
Right,
organizations.
I'm just asking a
Yep.
question, so.
It's actually 2 separate functions, but I hope I was clear, as I said. So what you're looking at here, this is the laptop. This is the major control. This is what controls all the graphics, not the scoreboard. But you'll see on Friday night, first down will be a graphic that'll come up. This is where you would control national anthem if you're gonna do that, flag, any advertising, any announcements from administration or whatever. Those would all be controlled from this mechanism here.
Okay.
And this is what would power it up. Then you have the iPad, which this is where the scoreboard control is.
Okay.
So the iPad would be used to control scoreboard function. Now, mind you, also, the other concern is that there are only one of each of these at each north and south campuses. You can't operate 2 at the same time. And it's 2 separate licenses to have the iPad and the laptop. So the only concern I would have had, which we've already got past, that because we're gonna train our own people, it goes that way, would be if something happened to the iPad or the laptop, on say Sunday, and now we have a full slate of games throughout the week. And we can't readily get a new replacement or fix it in-house. That's the only concern I would have had with outside people utilizing it. But training our people solves that problem.
For a point of clarification, just on the two pieces of hardware, they are married. You cannot just use one or the other. Both have to be operated to operate the actual score. So that was a question that we were batting around early on in the process, but that iPad runs off of the feed from the media center, which is the laptop.
Now, Mr. Daly had a great idea, and I'm not suggesting this right now, but he has suggested that we take a field trip to the press box so you could see what the operation looks like if you're not able to come to a decision tonight of which direction you want to go.
That's the control tower that operates the graphics. Just kind of showing you all the bells and whistles that go into just turning that unit on. That's the audio box, so anything, PA announcements, music, whatever, that's all gonna be controlled through that. That is what the PA announcer is actually going to use. There's two separate buttons there, whether you wanna have an open mic or you wanna press and talk. That goes with, you'll see with a headset that comes with that. And see, that's all the drivers and Jason could probably talk more about, but that's the control stuff that's actually mounted on the wall that delivers the signals from the consoles to the board itself.
I don't think this person has enough keys.
Are those yours, Chuck?
Probably. Yes, they are.
But they look
No,
familiar.
because no, they're all.
So immediately next to that is that big rack that sits there, that with
Yes.
other electronics. Could that be repurposed for some kind of digital scoreboard that could be used for outside groups?
That's out of my expertise, but possibly.
You
That
mean,
also handles the.
like, put the old boards back?
No, just get new boards that might be able to tap into the old hardware that sits.
Well,
There's
there's
existing
support one.
hardware in there right now, right?
That tower is all audio.
That's all
What you see
audio?
there is the scoreboard, that's all PA.
No, the other one.
Yeah, the big.
The
standard,
big standing one,
That's
right?
all PA.
Okay.
So that little scoreboard, the option, how is that operated like by a remote that somebody sits on the sidelines and does?
Yes, the Guild console.
And then how would we get that to and from our people that are coming in on the weekends? Would they have to sign it out and then sign it back in, or like, what would that look like?
I would assume if we went that route, it wouldn't be our people controlling it, right?
Right, but we wouldn't want to have them take it home with them, because what if you had another sport coming the next day
Right.
to use the field? You wouldn't want them to take that remote
They
home.
would just lock it back up.
Okay.
Location.
Just thinking, you know,
Do we have security when the
Yes.
folks use it?
Correct,
Can we
yeah,
get
so
it from
security would put it back
that would be a.
in
well,
whatever the location would be.
Okay.
Yes.
And well, with this scoreboard alternative, we could leave it up to the customer or the.
But if we have
group,
multiple
if they
groups-
if they wanted to pay the fee, whatever the fee is, for the current, for the new scoreboard, digital scoreboard, they pay that, or if they didn't, or if they weren't trained on it, they can't use it, but that we'd always have the.
Portable.
The $7,000 mobile scoreboard available to them if they need to use that one. And they wouldn't need to have somebody from trained on that, they could probably do that one on their own.
Yeah.
So we actually have both scenarios covered, those people who wanna pay to use.
They want the fancy one.
deal, would have to do whatever we say, you have to pay for this, and this, but they probably have to do it a month ahead of time, I would think. So that we could make sure we could have the personnel
Mhm.
available, to have them to do it, and I think we.
Maybe give the organization the
So
choice,
you like both options?
right? Give the
Yes,
choice.
both options, leave it up to the potential user, okay, but they have to give us a month ahead of time.
Yeah, just like any use of facilities, yeah, to secure personnel, absolutely.
So I like both options, yeah.
Because maybe they want the small one for
Yeah.
the regular games, but like the end of season playoff game or whatever, they want the fancy one.
Well, they could make that decision though.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
they
saying.
could make this.
Right, they can make that decision if they don't want to pay every week. But maybe the last game of the season, the playoff game or whatever the heck it is, I don't know, I don't watch football. But maybe the big game that they want that one on the big board, they can apply to.
Yeah, well,
Use their
and
funds
we're
for
not,
that.
we're not talking just football, we're talking
Let
soccer.
me ask
Right,
you a
exactly,
question.
I'm saying football, yeah.
Yeah.
With the digital content, if we're talking someone else coming in to use it, but our people are running it,
How do we get the
we
content?
could have, the generic, touchdown, going off. But the assumption through EPR was that this is an educational tool that we are using in our classroom to ultimately, obviously, teach our students to be able to operate all this kind of equipment, starting from when we opened up studio broadcasting,
Mhm.
which I was the person who opened it, which is why I'm very curious about this. To saying, are we going to then have the Schedule B, assuming mostly educators or support staff who will be getting trained on this, well, then they have to be paid extra outside of the Schedule B, hours of being there to create content.
Or to
And if
accept
so, what will that look like? The timing of that, there's a lot that goes into the creation of, the digital images, et cetera, that you see. So I think that's something that, has to be discussed. It's not just,
That
you
would be
know.
a line item on the contract, if they want, items, okay, that's what, but we charge them for it, I mean, that's.
I'm gonna say this, I think this is a really great business model. Something that they can set up in a business classroom and say, hey, this is the product, these are prices. This is this is how we're gonna develop it. Let the students and the teachers kind of come up with an idea of how to run that business model. And it's not gonna happen this
Agreed.
fall, right? But I mean,
Agreed.
for next year, say this is what it would cost to do that. And they have to calculate the labor and wages and all that into
Mhm.
how to design and to what, what level are they doing that to?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm way off base with
No,
that, but
I-
I think it sounds like a lot of fun
That's a great
for like a
idea.
business class to try to figure out
Well, we don't.
Gives them some real world experience.
real world experience, right? What is it?
On running a business, basically,
Exactly, yes,
or calculating.
right.
So I think our short-term thing is portable scoreboard for now.
Yeah.
Which I think is what we know.
Wait, I have a quick question. With, say, for sake of purpose, we just keep, say ESY. If they were to have a football game, and did they utilize our old scoreboard in the past?
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, they did.
what's that?
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that's not.
I'm
They
looking at
did.
Chuck.
They did.
Okay.
I believe when the Stallions have used the North Stadium, I believe they have.
Okay.
Scoreboard.
So when they utilize the scoreboard just for the, the simplicity of just using downs and yards to go, were they the ones who used it, or did we utilize staff like we do on, say, our regular football nights?
I believe they used it. We didn't have staff.
That's correct.
Well, actually, Mr. Jeff Reichel, was there last year. He, volunteered, his son was part of the Stallions program, so he was the point person, and I believe he's the one that actually ran the board.
Okay.
For us now, his son's now in Lehman, so he's no longer a part of the Stallions, so not sure who the point of contact would be. Is what.
Because I was just trying to figure out the procedure that we currently had in place with the old board, with them using it, and who was required, or who was the one who was operating. It appears now that because of how technologically difficult it might be for one person to utilize, we need two people, that having someone can't do that anymore. So then we need to figure out how to work that into a policy and so on and so forth. So you answered my question with probably nobody would be able to do it the way that we've been doing it in the past. So we need to come up with a whole new plan.
So
And for the record, ESYA has been using the scoreboard since 1973.
Do we think, so I hear a lot of good options. Do you think we could agree right now for this season to purchase the external boards? And then develop a plan of what it looks like and how we're going to do it in train capacity, get our students used to the board. Because my fear is that whatever you decide now, we're going to have to turn around pretty quickly. And when you do things in haste, you don't always do things well. So can we commit to our outside organizations? We're going to get there. You just have to give us some time for us to learn the boards and how finicky they are. So like, I remember I was talking to Attorney Brown about this and he's like, do we really think they're gonna break? I actually don't know. I don't wanna think they're going to break. But it's a concern, right? And if it breaks for a soccer game on a Monday and we don't have it for a Tuesday, that's for some reason in my mind, and I'm coming with a bias, that's easier for me to say than it broke for a girls on the run event on a Saturday, and now we don't have it for our own students on Monday. Do you know what I mean? Like, but that's just what I'm coming with. So,
Are you talking the $7,000 board?
yeah, so I'm,
I think we wanna go with that anyhow, whether, no matter what, cause we're not. Even though we'll use the digital this year for ourselves, our people aren't gonna be trained. So I think the 7,000 board is a no-brainer.
so we can agree to that as a stopgap measure.
To stop it.
And then we can spend a lot of time being thoughtful and intentional with what it's going to look like, how we're going to market it, how we're going to set up a pay structure and be ready for next fall.
And we let all the people who might
Mhm.
wanna use it.
Correct.
Just tell them it's not available this year.
Not just yet.
Because
Yep.
we're not
And
even.
we need to figure it out.
The other,
Yeah.
the other.
And then use
It's not
Richard,
The
then
other
use Richard's
plus to
idea.
that is if, as you say, the board breaks on Saturday and we need something for Monday, we have these extra boards
Hmm.
that are available.
Mhm.
So we'll always have a
The backup,
backup.
Correct.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Then we could
So you
also
want a
get-
motion?
We need, I don't have the quote in front of me though, so I
Okay.
don't know how you want
So
to do
you-
it.
We can make it up, not to exceed amount.
Oh,
That
yeah,
way it would just be.
So
Yeah.
let's say not to exceed 8,000.
8,000.
So
Yeah,
I'd make a
perfect.
motion that we
Yeah.
purchase the boards not to exceed $8,000.
I second that.
Second,
with
any-
St. Luke's funds.
Any
Yeah.
other questions on that discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
It's each, just make sure you put that in the.
Right,
Each.
8,000, not to exceed 8,000 each.
For both.
Per board.
Which I think
Per-
we're still-
No, you said each.
Each.
Per
They're-
board.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
each, right?
Yep.
Is it each?
Yeah.
Okay.
Each.
I wasn't sure.
And we are getting this using St. Luke's funds, correct? Still?
We are using St. Luke's funds.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you for giving us some time so that we don't have to rush and get that done. All right, well, that was easy. Let's go to the next one.
Just, may I just ask you a point of information? I don't know if Amy would know this. What is the class that's actually being trained for this? What class is it? Okay, so in business or in
It's business south and it is in tech ed in words. It's housed under our math department, so anyone with the certificate should be able to teach it.
Thank you.
Okay, class size. So last week, so I watch elementary class size, honestly daily. And last week we got to a threshold of more than 26 students in 2 different grade spans. In 2 different schools in our district. And I decided at that point that we were going to hire 2 new elementary teachers. I sent out an email to the board just informing them, and there was some conversation back and forth about class size. So here's the policy. Thank you, gentlemen. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Have a good evening. So purpose is that we believe class size is an important consideration towards is not a word, just saying that, toward facilitating student success. The board recognizes that class size should be maintained at levels which are conducive to the most effective use of instructional staff and practice of valuable teaching methods, are in accordance with applicable state and federal laws and appropriate for the subject being taught. Class size shall be determined by the board after consultation with the superintendent and designated administrators. The superintendent shall prepare guidelines for class size, which shall take into account subject type of instruction, ability of students, age, paraprofessionals, and facilities. That's it. That's the policy. Some boards choose to have actual numbers in their policy. You are saying that you are going to tell me what class size is based on my recommendations or after consulting me. We haven't actually had this conversation yet. So it is my understanding that prior to this school year, these were the thresholds. That primary, which is K-2, was at 22 students in a class. Intermediate elementary was at 26, and then secondary was 26, depending on the course. So I want to be clear, chorus is going to have 90. Your biology with labs is probably going to have 22. Right? So secondary is a little more difficult. And also when we look at elementary, I look at core instruction. So I'm taking out students in autistic support, students in supplemental learning support, students in supplemental emotional support. I'm looking at math and ELA instructional times. I am not thinking about art. And although I'm not trying to devalue art, art is incredibly important. I'm comfortable with 28 kids in an art class. I am not comfortable with 28 first graders in a first grade class. A lot to manage. And if you've never managed 28 6-year-olds, I welcome you to come and do it.
I have done that,
And
I would return 5 or 6 of them to someone, because the thing of hurting cats.
Mhm.
I
Would
like
be-
butterflies. They're hurting little beautiful butterflies.
I'll
They
take,
fly everywhere.
yes, I'm telling you, 22 should be a max for K-2.
So let me just tell you what has been happening. So in the past, those were the thresholds. So what would happen is when in elementary school, so let's say JM Hill, 3rd grade, every class would get to 26. This is what would happen. They would close JM Hill 3rd grade. Any new student who would come in would go to another school.
That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
They would be assigned to other elementary schools, and then they would be allowed to return if there was space. So let's say we're talking 3rd grade. Next year in 4th grade, if there was space, they could come back to their home school.
Is that a choice?
Yes, they had a choice whether they could remain at
Where they
ESE or Middle or Smithfield, or they could return.
What about if you had a family that has more than one child?
Correct.
4 different
And
schools.
what happens if the grade of the sibling is closed at the other school?
Right.
Okay.
that's-
What about busing?
And it is my understanding that Johnny gets bused to JM Hill, then transfers to ESE.
So they're late to school.
So there's lost instructional time and there's transportation cost. That bottom bullet is in pink and says, I have very strong opinions about this.
I think
I'm
we all
gonna
do.
hold some
We've been
opinions.
seriously been doing that?
Yes,
Wow.
Well, buildings like JM Hill get filled up pretty quick, right? I mean, so,
ESE has been
Or
closed,
ESE,
Smithfield has
right.
been closed.
so.
Rest of the-
I
how
never
do
in my
we-
life heard of closing a public elementary school.
It's
So anyway.
Auburn.
My strong,
I'm okay. I'm good.
my strong opinions are, I want all of you to.
He's still talking, it's quite all
My
right.
strong opinions are that there is a reason we have 6 elementary schools and 2 high schools. Elementary schools should be your community small school.
Right.
It should be the people at your bus stop or the people you're playing with are the people that you have relationships with, and they're the people in your classroom. When we start disconnecting that, we are creating a loss of community. Our district struggles with community.
Can't disagree.
And what we're doing is feeding that problem.
No, and I understand that, but I mean, like, are we going to create more classrooms with more students in them, or are we
That's my
increasing the
question.
class size in order to accommodate those more students.
Oh,
And
That's-
so
do we
those
have
are
the
going to be
space?
some of the conversations.
Right.
You as a board have to direct me of your comfort level.
And do we have?
There were some numbers thrown around about what our comfort level was in elementary. We need to set on that first, and then based on that, so like there are some buildings where I can't, so Resica, JM Hill, I'm thinking of right away, I can't just add class sizes
Right.
Mhm,
to it. So then we have to become crafty. I
mhm.
can tell you when I was a teacher at Smithfield, we got very, very high in fourth grade, and they created a class of 12
Is that really?
because that was the only space that they had that could fit 12 students.
Hmm.
So
Is that wrong? No.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, so this
That's-
district has had a history of being creative
Right.
in solving that problem. I would be much happier, and again, I feel badly for Art, but I would be much more comfortable if space was an issue of saying, okay,
Let's do gym.
Art
then.
is going to be on a cart. And I'm going to give fourth grade a core classroom, and the art teacher is going to be a little bit more mobile.
What was done during the growth years
Oh, God, everybody was on a cart.
all the time when I was principal at Middle Smithfield. You had-
And I love art. I love art,
But
but like, it rhymes, that's why you say it.
Right, but you have to do what you
okay,
have to.
so I know that traditionally, or from what I understand, is that like JM Hill in September starts acquiring a whole bunch of new students that just never registered.
Correct.
So if you know, like, we're gonna obviously have to be creative, but if we're just, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. We shouldn't be shipping children all over the count, all over the district. But how do we create that space in the building for them and still stay at I think the 22 is really important as well, because 24 kids that's a lot.
Can we
So-
go back to the old days?
No.
He said old, be sounding old. When the growth time was about, what we used to do is say you left 5%. So you didn't put 22 in a class, you only put, and I can't do the math, but 17.
Right,
And then with the understanding, you're going to go up 5%. And
right.
so you started smaller
Mhm.
and sometimes you didn't, and you just had a class of
It was
17.
in recent years, and I know this only through the association when we would meet with class sizes, that if the numbers weren't there at the end of the school year, we cut everyone. And we did that, you know, the district did that and told us, you know, for budgetary reasons. And obviously we were looking at staffing from an association perspective. But the problem with that is every year,
We
They brought
rehired
people back.
we rehired everybody
And we did it this
anyway.
year. So
So-
through attrition, through 2 retirements,
Exactly.
we didn't replace 2 elementary teachers,
But then you have to get
and
them
we just
anyway.
replaced them.
And
So
but if we
we-
go with what we did.
We
during
have
the
data,
growth
don't we,
time,
to say JM
then
Hill averages
I would rather
4%
spend
growth
more
and,
money and have less kids in a classroom,
yes.
because it's not even, and I understand your love of art, you know, and it's not it's a learning perspective in terms of how many kids you have in a class, but it's also discipline.
Yes.
You know, and the more kids you have in a class, the more things you have going on. And think about it in our class, all the things you're trying to do, and you're putting 30 in a class. That is a ridiculous number as well.
Mhm.
Just
Right.
saying. And as an English teacher, you know, we want to have kids learn how to write, but we put 30 kids in a class, you know, between 25 and 30. Well, what do you expect the teacher to do? How many essays really can that teacher grade with those kind of class sizes? So, I mean, we have to be really, you know, talk about intentional, you know, about how many kids we're putting in a class.
Mhm.
And we're looking at, we just looked at scores, you know, all of that comes together. Because everyone, teachers are human too, you know, and there's only so much you can do when you're in a classroom. And I am, class size to me is the most important thing. And the association tried for years to even bargain that, to get that in their contract, and the board always said no. And, you know, so here we are.
Well, and I think it's appropriate that we are the people who are working with that. Do we have split classes? Can we
Between 2
create
grades,
2 grades? I was in one of those kinds of classes coming up.
we would
and-
have to write course plans for what that looks like.
And what I'm saying is that is a quasi solution for too many first graders, too many second graders, third graders, fourth graders. That gives us a little flexibility to create those split classes. It can be done.
It absolutely can be done.
Earlier, you said I could read really well. I went to East Stroudsburg School District, so I think it's appropriate.
Here, can I,
I do, it is an option that we could consider. Yes,
One of-
absolutely.
as a parent, I know they added kindergarten classes for my children 2 weeks into class.
Yep.
And I am opposed to that. Because your kid gets comfortable with the teacher, your kids get comfortable with the friend, and then they say, oh, you, and you, and you, and you are leaving this classroom and now going to this one. They made bonds, they made friends, they connected, they're kindergartners. They're already stressed out enough, and then you pull them.
I don't
I'm very
disagree.
much against that. As a
I-
parent, it ruined my kid.
Forever.
It broke 'em.
It did, like, I had a horrible experience with my daughter when it happened to her. I fought against my son getting it and he stayed, and it was much better situation.
So we would have to have a conversation then. You would have to offer me direction that when students suddenly enroll, because we get an uptick in enrollments, because some of our families that are not from the Poconos are used to starting after Labor Day.
Mhm.
So we get an uptick in enrollment after Labor Day. So should our kindergarten numbers get above 22, then if you don't want additional sections, and listen, it's not what's best.
No,
I also think kids are resilient, and 2 weeks later, they'd be fine. I also think that parents sometimes feel that it's more of a situation and they feed into it. That if we say to our kid, awesome experience, we're good, we're so excited for you to get new friends, can't wait for you to meet this new teacher, if we frame it for that, our kids are really resilient. I've been in buildings that have started new kindergartens. It's not ideal,
no.
but what is worse? 26 kids in a kindergarten or starting a new kindergarten class the third week in September? This goes back to what do you value?
Do we leave that little bit of wiggle room?
That's what I said.
In each
Could a
class?
parent opt out?
Yeah.
Not to repeat what our fine president said, but do we?
You're agreeing with her, so that's fine, Bill.
But do we leave that little bit of? wiggle
We're leaving some room. We also what we struggle with also is the 10-day drop. Is that because we're such a transient school district,
Right.
that after 10 days of school, we drop some of our population. I haven't been here long enough to see how many we actually drop. So right now, we don't have 5% in most of we don't have that kind of wiggle room. I'm not hiring 10, 15 new teachers. I don't think we'll actually end up with that based on numbers. But when you look at, so like some of JM Hill sections so JM Hill has like 70 kids in third grade, let's say. Kindergarten and first grade have like 42.
Right.
Well, every other grade above that is traditionally, let's say, averaging 75, but kindergarten and 1 has 40 some averaging. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to, as I'm here longer, God willing, as I'm here longer and hopefully another contract intent, I will be able to anticipate kind of trends that we see and say, no, we're gonna get this drop. I'm okay with it right now. But there's always situations where you have to create a new
Right.
section. But I just think that this is important for the board to talk. That way, as I'm making these decisions very rapidly. So we made that decision pretty quickly last week because I wanted to make sure we could get somebody on board and get people in classrooms before kids
Right,
started.
yeah.
And that we could get it on the agenda for tonight. So I'm just looking for direction of where you guys sit and what your comfort level is with class size. Do we like the closed model or do we want
we don't
to start to grow our sections if we need?
What are your thoughts too? Because I've also seen in our district where in January, they decided we need to create a new class and they started pulling kids in January and recreating as well.
You don't wanna do that.
That's a little late and I'm not sure why that would be done.
I don't want to speak for the board, but I'm going to. I think there's a general.
Well, you are one of the voices.
Yes, but not all. I think there's a general consensus of smaller class size. That's a no brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
everything from you know, either you are a parent who put your kid through the school, you're an educator, knows what class size is and the importance of the smaller class size. And I think also too, you know, err on the side of caution with the number of students in each class. I would rather have a class where I have, you know, 14 or 15 kids to start as opposed to 26 or 27. And I know that 14 class is going to get those new kids. My 26 might get a new kid, and then it makes it more difficult. But when you know that you are starting already low, I mean, there's some teachers who start with, you know, in elementary school in kindergarten, let's say 25 kids. They may get a new kid. And I don't ever want that to be a situation that would occur. So, you know, smaller class, for me at least, smaller class, I err on the side of caution with the number of students that we put
You
in.
know,
But it also goes to the feasibility study of, do we have the space?
Correct.
And like you said, we're creative and we can find the space. I was a car teacher for 10 years. So I know what it's like. But that's more important to me. Whether I moved around or not, that didn't matter. What mattered the most was having the appropriate class size.
I think that's important.
90% versus 95% is a better number, just
Yeah.
to fill the classes up to 90%,
And
not 95.
as far as space, most of our schools are not at capacity, maybe the way they're being used now. I remember Resica, as it sits, had 900 students at one time. Middle Smithfield now, of course, is a different building. So what we've gotten comfortable with as what the school looks like may not be what the school can actually hold when push comes to shove. And I'm going to look at these numbers again, and I know these aren't what you're proposing, but I think there's one other factor. When you're talking 26 at intermediate or secondary, 26, if we have to take into account levels,
Right.
because there were many sections when I was in the high school that we would have 26 kids, 15 or 16 of which have IEPs that are mainstreamed into that class. 26 is the teacher, you're just pretty much have said to this teacher, just do something, make it work. And that's not going to happen. So, and that happens in, you know, all the way down to elementary. So I think we have to also look at when we're doing inclusion, you know, what are going to be our guidelines for inclusion and how many students and what's going to be the size of the class, because we've spent, as a board, we've spent a whole lot of money the last year on trying to improve the school district, and rightfully so, in a lot of variety of ways. This is the heart of it. I mean, you know, we could have had not as talented a superintendent, and still the teachers would have taught in their class with a smaller class. What I'm saying is, this is the heart of what we're doing. I'd rather see us spend money, as, you know, as Jason was saying, let's start with 18 and start with 15.
How were the other buildings looking? Like, are some of them lower where you can combine there and move a teacher, or?
Oh, I looked at all 127 sections across the district.
Okay.
We actually moved, this poor teacher. She introduced herself as a kindergarten teacher at new teacher induction. And then by lunchtime, she was a fourth grade teacher. Because we were able to collapse a kindergarten section at one school and move that person to fourth grade.
But now we need a kindergarten teacher because of.
No.
We don't, okay.
No, as of right now, we believe we're okay with kindergarten.
So what do we need?
We don't, so on the agenda are a third grade teacher at Bushkill and a fourth grade teacher at ESC. It might be backwards with the
Okay.
grade levels. But I looked at all 127 sections and said, where can we move? Where can we collapse? Can we? And in most cases, except for one grade span at one school, we couldn't collapse without going over these thresholds that we set.
So with these new teachers being hired, there won't be any changes after the school year starts?
I can't guarantee that.
Well, as of right now, as of today, with the numbers on
Well,
it,
it could change in 2 weeks. The
right?
Von Trapp family could come in.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, the Von Trapp family could show up.
As of this moment in time, this snapshot of right now,
Based on all of the current class sizes, we are comfortable.
and is there buffers in kindergarten so it doesn't happen? Or are there some that are pretty close to the max?
There are some that are 22.
But you said as a district, we have a lot of people come in after the Labor Day.
Mhm.
So we shouldn't get too comfortable if.
That was my point.
If we're at some of these close to the maximum right now. So are we gonna have that issue in the coming month.
I'm not sure.
We must have a lot of historical data on this, though. I mean,
Yes.
I imagine we've kept records.
But
we do
Yeah,
have-
can't we
You
just?
even
I would,
look-
I would think pupil services would have those type of records.
I
See if there is a
imagine
trend.
Child
as to
Academy
what
would have it.
Child
Yeah,
Academy.
like I was even looking at enrollment up at like Lehman, it's down significantly.
Enrollment across the district is down
Yeah, significantly
Yeah.
at the middle school level up there. I was
by like a
noticing
few hundred students different
Yeah.
than last year.
that. Yeah, I noticed that up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
They're
But
coming
we're
back.
not down at the elementary,
No,
so
What's happening when they get to high school is the question, or middle school.
I don't know if I'm gonna jump there.
Okay,
I think that's a good one.
that's a wonder. That's what I'm
That's a
saying.
good
That was my
wonder,
good wonder.
Start low.
All right, so we're gonna, so the guidance I have, just I'm gonna say it back to you, is we're going to ideally stop the practice of closing grades at different schools.
Mhm.
And 22, 26 for right now is our threshold, but if we can offer a buffer as we register,
Did you?
okay?
That is our threshold for now, but we're going to reinvestigate that. Because
Okay.
if not, I would say 26 is way too high.
I would too.
And I would
Agreed.
say that just thinking of some of those divided classes for the overflow would be a solution
Okay,
for some of those.
I mean, when we say secondary 26, depending on course, I would like to say depending on course / level.
agree.
Because 26 in an honors class is very different
Mhm.
than 26 in your basic class when 3/4 of them are
Mhm.
have an IEP and teachers are trying to do individualized and everything else under the sun.
well, those with IEPs also give us, we have to more, pairs and all.
No,
No,
IEPs
not
don't get parents.
necessarily.
No, no, but-
No, my daughter
We
didn't
have
get parents
taken
tonight.
parents out of our basic level classes,
Right.
not all of them, but
They don't
many
get
of them.
parents.
And I'm sorry, and nothing against our paras are great, and I've loved my paras in high school south, but paras do not replace the teacher.
Correct.
So we can't say, well, we'll put 28 because a para is in there. A para is not a teacher, so they may be able to facilitate, but they're not teaching. So I don't think paras really do anything for class size personally. Not, I value them, but that's not what they're there for.
Okay, I appreciate the conversation, thank you. And we got through it all.
Yes. Thank you for
I'm
that.
proud of you guys.
We're done.
Okay, so that concludes our superintendent report. We will go to our committee reports. MCTI, Jason?
All right, MCTI JOC met on Monday, August 4th, 2025, to discuss finance, curriculum and instruction, student activities, personnel items, and the progress of the conference center. We were promised a end of June move-in date. We're still waiting. Hopefully it will be done before students move in at the end of August. We did welcome our new superintendent of record from Stroudsburg. That would be Dr. Curry. Additionally, we created new positions, including business manager, joint operating committee, secretary, a business assistant business manager, and accounting clerk. We also approved a series of personnel changes, which included resignations, FMLAs, an appointment of new staff, including instructional assistants in ninth grade social studies teacher, an executive secretary, and several retroactive hires were approved. We had several payments of invoices regarding renewal of food services in the amount of $1.2 million. Utility and maintenance, renewal agreements for propane delivery and snow removal, professional services for student behavior counseling, and employee assistance services. Third-party partnerships, we also entered into an agreement with the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter for a third-party tuition program to be determined. We also had an MOU with the Township of Pocono, Pocono Township for police services, and a new affiliation agreement with Stanley Community College for Cisco training. Approval of Cisco dual in advanced licenses for multi-factor authentication and agreement with the Pocono County's Workforce Development Board. We also approved over 50 field trips for the upcoming 2025-26 school year for the career and technical student organizations and their advisors. And we also had the first reading of policy 707 for the use of school facilities. That was also conducted. No action was needed at the time. Our next JOC meeting will be held on Monday, September 8th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jason. IU 20 for me, IU 20 board does not meet in July, so we will be meeting later on in August, so I do not have a report. Property and facilities, Wayne?
Property and facilities met on Wednesday, August 6th. On August 5th, we met with Cletus Lyman and his associate Charles Jabi to go over stage 3 of the North Campus stormwater repair as they are making getting ready to file with court for future litigation. The weather station was discussed at ESE, so there's a board approved agreement that was dated 2022. I guess we had to update that. Is that correct, Maggie?
Yeah, so the last board action was on that was 3 years ago. So I'm just asking for the board to update it so we can move forward, since we're a few boards ago.
Regarding the natatorium roof, we found out through our engineer that the contractor, Munn Contracting, found a cavity. Not quite sure if that's the excuse or the cause, I should say, for the condensation issue that continues to haunt us. More on that next month when we will be able to resolve that issue. The rest of the school flooring was completed. Seating is complete at the JTL. Keith with us.
No.
Yeah.
The North Auditorium light upgrades has been completed. Bid opening for the ESC sprinkler replacement went for July 30th. Keystone Fire had the low bid of $1.95 million. Bear with me, I left my report. There was a discussion on our district energy savings year to date. The savings for the LED replacements was up to $26,974. The rebates year to date is $13,913. There was a motion to recommend the high school north coaching platform with a condition that the property facilities supervisors research the requirement for electricity. There was a condition that we may want it on the press box side with a research the feasibility on the visitor side with respect to access to electric for the huddle camera that all football teams use to film the game. There's a 1 through 9 list of invoices for CHA, that's the school district engineering firm. The invoices are noted. And then we have applications for payment. JTL Data Network Improvements application for pay number 2 was $95,913. Gayetti for application for payment number 3 is for $108,000. The JM Hill asbestos abatement application number 2 is for $6,390. JTL partial flooring, coat flooring, an application for payment number 3 for $32,665.50. JM Hill partial flooring, Lehigh Valley flooring application for payment number 2, $26,402 and change. Then the rest, partial flooring at Lehigh Valley Flooring, application number 2, $23,373. The next property and facilities meeting is scheduled for September 3rd at 5:30 here in Via Zone.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
I have a question.
Okay.
For the huddle cameras, are they available to all sports or just being used by football?
Each school district brings their own huddle cam, so
Or so each sport brings their own huddle camera?
yeah.
Okay, so we use the
NFHS.
NFHS right now. Is that a different platform than the huddle?
I would imagine, I'm not
Yes.
familiar with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're different platforms.
Okay. Well, we're still keeping the, and.
So Mr. Roner was just addressing that this coaching platform at the north
Right,
that we had talked about,
Yes.
that it needs electric. He was just using Huddle as an example.
example, okay.
Yes, sorry. Not to speak for you, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Right, education programs and resources, and
The EPR committee met on Thursday, August 7th at 5:30. Dr. Vitale discussed how we may be able to become involved in the Pike and Wayne counties CTC programs while still staying part of MCTI. This would allow more of our students to participate with a wider variety of program options. She explained the various programs are available as well as presented the many scenarios of how this might be accomplished. She explained that we are in the investigatory process and that she is working with all the educational leaders to provide more specific and detailed information to enable us to participate in offering our students more opportunities for future career success. I mean, all the programs sound absolutely amazing. I mean, we were so excited during the EPR committee, but it's definitely a process. And Dr. Vitale is, really following through with that. And Debbie is also now part of the, yeah, so, to really hopefully bring all of this to us within a year or two. Dr. Vitale also presented the changes in curriculum policy, which we've put forth last month. Remember, these are just vernacular changes so that the jargon of educators kind of match the policy. I'd also just like to thank Mr. Paul Bigner for his input on the Make Music Clouds 3-year renewal. The EPR committee has moved this forward as an advisory recommendation. As you've heard me, kind of do my reports through these last 6 to 8 months or so, we're really making great strides in our secondary curricular areas. These were the areas that, really hadn't had any look for, almost 15, 20 years in some sections of our curriculum. Our August meeting truly exemplified the progress we have made. I'm going to give thanks to Amy Polmount, our secondary director, for curriculum, for all of her detailed curricular presentations. She and Dr. Vitale were kind of the dynamic duo that evening with all the presentations. She did explain the implementation and importance of Link It, which is the data information program that Dr. Vitale spoke of before. She explained its uses for both administrators and teachers. We're just kind of getting to the, hitting the surface of it at this point. So it's exciting to watch how it'll be used and the impact that it will have in the future. Amy also explained and showed us professional development plans for August, the next few days. As excited as Dr. Vitale was for her administrative days, as a former teacher, I was over the moon when I saw what these 3 days were like. I actually kind of turned around and made a comment. Maybe I should come out of retirement, because it's such an exciting
I'd
thing.
miss you too much.
I figured that only lasted a few minutes, but then I don't really want to get up at 5 o'clock again. But just wanted to thank everyone for that. It's the professional development plan is such a key, and we as a board, obviously, by hiring, someone to kind of really spearhead that as well is just very exciting to us. Lastly, Amy gave a monthly explanation of the curriculum writing timeline moving forward. I do want to do a shout out to Andy Snyder. Obviously, he's was the one I met with him prior to our PR meeting and has kind of put it together and working with Amy, with Marilyn, really it's been wonderful to see on the secondary level the changes that are happening. As a result of this, time frame, if you will, you can really see the tasks that are being completed each month, as well as the scope and sequence for each department. we were given that evening links to 71 course plans, 71 course plans. Each course plan was between like 40 and 60 pages long. They correspond to the curriculum that we have approved over the last few months in some of the different areas. Again, I can't even begin to express my gratitude to our teachers who put in so much time and effort to create these course plans. Their hard work and dedication in creating these documents will ensure that all of our students are receiving the rich education that they deserve. In addition, these documents help all of our new teachers coming in. Like, you know, as a teacher, when you see sometimes a curriculum, there's, you know, just standards, objectives, those kinds of things. It's, you know, more on the vague side. To see these course plans really helps our new teachers who are coming in to understand specifically what the skills are that need to be taught when they're introduced, you know, how, using all kinds of, you know, methods, etc. And that's really important for new teachers to just have that document there to really help them with their own knowledge and their own growth, and that we have our master experienced teachers who have written these courses. It's just wonderful. So again, I just want to thank our teachers in advance for their time and continuing to reflect upon their own successes and areas that need to be further developed and or changed, and their commitment to updating these course plans accordingly. You know, this is something that if you notice in our policy, those of you we're gonna, you know, we're agreeing on that policy today, this evening, but to really understand, you know, the importance of those course plans. So it's exciting for me to see how far we've come in the area of curriculum development and exploration. We're really just moving forward, and it's a wonderful thing. I'll end my report with my well wishes to all of the teachers who are probably going to bed early this evening, staff, administration, and most importantly, our students, for a school year that is meaningful, exciting, successful, and fun. I want to thank all of them on behalf of our school board for the time and dedication that you put into your academic work, whether you're in front or behind the proverbial desk. You make all of us in the East Stroudsburg School District really proud. So everyone have an awesome 25-26 school year. And as I say every month, you should all be attending or listening to the EPR meetings to really learn about our excellent programs that we offer to our students, meet our awesome educators who provide these wonderful learning opportunities for our students. So our next meeting is Thursday, September 4th at 5:30, both here and on Zoom. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rebecca for finance.
So finance met on Monday, August 11th, and we had the same presentation you had for the dual track by Miss Jamie Doyle. We also discussed the items that Wayne brought up for properties and facilities, which included the North coaching platform, the boiler replacement, ESE sprinkler, the CHA invoices, the Rutledge excavating invoices, and the applications of payment. And we also moved forward for education programs and resources, the 3-year renewal for Make Music Cloud. And our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 9th, here at 5:30, both here and via Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Is anyone filling in for Keith's report? Okay, thank you, Deb.
The policy committee met earlier this evening, and in place of Mr. Carkett, I will give the report. We met and discussed policy 212, reporting student progress, where the primary change was that reports will be out no less than 3 times a year. The following policies all were updated with changes that were primarily consolidation and pointing to law and different changes. So some of them have gone from 8 pages to 2 pages, some have gone from 10 to 2, and all of the appropriate information is included. Those were policy 323, tobacco and vaping products. The previous policy was repealed. Policy 814, copyright policy. The previous policies to be repealed. Policy 815.1, website. The previous policies to be repealed. Policy 816, social media policy. The previous policies to be repealed. Policy 816.1, cloud computing, the previous policy is to be repealed. Policy 830, information protection, the previous policy is to be repealed. Policy 830.1, privacy and security of student data, the previous policy is to be repealed. Policy 830.2, data breach and notification, the previous policies to be repealed. And our next meeting is on September 15th at 4:30 right here in this room. As Mr. Carkett says every month, this is the committee to attend. Thank you.
Thank you for carrying on the tradition. Okay, we now up to our public participation. Reminder limited to comments on the agenda by residents and taxpayers. Excuse me, 3 minutes each. Jay Armitage, you had signed up.
Good evening. My name is Jay Armitage. I'm the head rifle coach here at East Stroudsburg South. A couple of months ago, our school board approved the installation of an air conditioning unit for our rifle range. On behalf of our students and myself, I just want to thank you very much. It makes it much more enjoyable to be using the rifle range when you're not cooking. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay, thank you for coming out to do that. And thank you for all you do with our really tremendous rifle team. Thank you so much. Okay, anyone online for comments? Nope. Okay, thank you. Any unfinished business? Well, there's always unfinished business. Unofficial. Okay, so we'll move on with the rest of the agenda. Motion to adopt the Board of Policies as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the attendance of Dr. Maggie Vitale at the PASA New Superintendent's Academy Phases 1, 2, and 3 in Harrisburg on the dates listed in the approximate amount of $1,900.
So, second.
Question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the 3-year renewal of Make Music Cloud in the amount of $19,910.83 in accordance with the recommendations of the EPR committee.
So second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the implementation of the following clubs listed there.
So moved. Second.
Second, sorry. Questions?
Are these clubs available at all elementary schools or just the ones that are signing up for it?
Each elementary school is going to build their own list of clubs based on student interest.
Okay.
So robotics club will be available at all, but beyond that, with our new system that we created, it's going to be based on student interest.
Okay, because I noticed this robotics was just for ESE, so I was just making sure that all,
Yep, they just haven't gotten the paperwork in yet.
okay.
Okay, good. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the agreement with Karen Bukowski as presented as Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Services of the district effective August 15th, 2025 through August 14th, 2030, which is a revised date.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Opposed? Hey, welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome again, Karen.
Start last Friday.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Very happy to have you with us. Motion to approve the following memorandums of understanding that are listed below.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? A motion to approve the employment actions listed in accordance with the associated applicable policies, procedures, and contractual agreements. And remember, we did add one at the beginning of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
I have an extension for J7,
Okay.
according to our new policy on. We have an updated policy on conflicts of interest, right?
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Question or comment? Okay, that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And is that the other?
Congratulations. Welcome. And Dr. Myers is going to start with us tomorrow.
Yay.
And we are so excited to have her back here with us. We worked together about 50 years ago. That feels like, at least to me, about that long.
Congratulations. Welcome back home. We're excited.
Yes, we are very excited to have. Motion to approve the agreement with school business consultants as presented for budget review and preparation services as set forth in the agreement.
So moved.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the disabled veterans real property tax exemption as presented in accordance with policy.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to award items A through C in accordance with the recommendations of the Property and Facilities Committee and Finance Committee.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the payment of bills and unaudited treasurer's report listed in the agenda for the 24-25 and 25-26 fiscal years in accordance with section 687 of the Public School Code, recent directives from the Department of Ed, and interpretations made by the Auditor General.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion to approve the payment of the following CHA invoices: Rutledge Excavating invoice and applications for payment for services rendered in accordance with the recommendations of the Property and Facilities and Finance Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the following 25-26 meal prices, and they're listed below.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
We're still offering free breakfast for the kids, and then they just do the a la carte. So is the a la carte prices changing, or are they staying the same?
I don't know if the a la carte prices are changing. I know
Okay.
that every child gets free breakfast and
exactly.
free lunch.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the contract agreement with Lehman Pike Emergency for ambulance services at the East Stroudsburg Area Senior High School North football games for the 2025 football season at no cost to the district.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the contracts listed for the specific services, rates, and effective dates, subject to the review and recommendation of the solicitor and approval of the administration regarding the terms and conditions of any final contract other than the cost. And they're listed, many of them, on all those pages.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the land use license agreement with Penn State University for the installation of an atmosphere and environmental monitoring station at East Stroudsburg Elementary School as presented.
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, any comments or discussion on enrollment? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Before
I-
we do
I
that, why
just-
don't we?
Oh, sorry. Let's stop. Don't go anywhere.
Hold on.
let's-
Jay, you can.
You have a good night.
You have a good night. Thank you.
Let's just cover ourselves with a motion to authorize administration to purchase 2 school boards at a cost of approximately $7,000 apiece.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
As opposed to the eighth?
As opposed to.
Eight.
Was the original, yeah.
It was 8, sorry.
Yeah.
That would be under.
That was-
Approximately, obviously, it'll be on the
Yeah,
agenda
you made
for
that
purchase
motion.
approval later.
Right, but we never voted on it, so she voted to add it to the agenda, or did we?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't, you haven't.
Okay.
Okay, so I make that motion.
Great. Motion to, for the scoreboard. Is any second to that?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Okay, and then I have a,
Motion.
hold on.
no, I have a quick question. With regard to the press box, we had gotten it through properties and facilities. I was under the assumption that we would have had what we needed in order to get it on the agenda for this evening. Is it on the agenda? I didn't see it.
I
Well, the problem is if it's
Yeah, we
on
talked
the,
about it.
if it's on the agenda, it was tabled last month and needs to be brought off the table and be voted on.
We brought it forward on the finance committee, I thought we did.
No, you can't bring it forward. You have to bring it forward at the board meeting
didn't
because it's
work.
been tabled.
No, I thought it was on the agenda.
But if it was tabled last month, it has to come off the table to be voted on. You can't just vote on it again because it's still sitting on the table.
Let's take it off the
Yeah,
table.
well.
and vote on it.
Right,
It
that's
was
Robert
part of
rule.
which-
It's right,
You have to
yeah.
pull it off.
So it's,
I hear you.
it's
Right.
part of public, it's part
Right.
of,
Public content.
new business finances, 610
right.
is the first item, the coaching platform.
Yep.
Mhm.
Correct.
So what you're saying, Jason, is that
It has to be taken off the
Full
table
code.
from last month in
I
order
make
for
a
it to get
motion to
voted on.
remove
this
it
one.
from the table.
Well,
Well said.
what we've always,
Can we
I
move
hear
the
what you're
table?
saying, Jason, and you are
Right.
exactly right. We have always treated motions to table as a informal way of saying motion to postpone.
But that's not what a motion to table
I
is.
understand.
Right, okay,
But
I
this
just
bo-
wanna
this
make
board
sure, I just wanna
has
make sure there's
never-
no hiccup that this doesn't go through.
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. All right, thank you.
And
Now
voted.
can I do it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Can I second it?
All in favor?
All right.
Good luck, everyone, tomorrow at school opening for staff.
We're starting at 8:45, so you might wanna come a little earlier.
Okay.
Don't want them to-
I don't know. I got a lot to carry.
Right.
My 12-page speech.
Almost every day.
The difference in.
You'll have audio visual, right?
Until.
PowerPoint.
Oh, did they ever get the?
I have a whole PowerPoint.
So do I.
No, you don't.
Did they ever get the permits to put it in?
Good night, Dr. Bukowski, 5 a.m. 5 a.m. Balloonapalooza. Yes, accurate.
I do
Dress
hope
down
there's
so you can
not a
dress
lot
up.
of money.
There's a lot of hot air.
I'm dressing down.
Well, Mr. Catrillo is speaking.